How were you able to change the culture as you came in?
So I think the environment when I joined, like many family businesses, and this isn't just real estate, but real estate is emblematic. When it's family owned and family run, oftentimes you're dealing with, if it's not the founding generation, it might be the second or third generation. And there is a deep reverence for, the origin story for the family that founded the business, the entrepreneurs that founded it and got it to where it got. Often when you get into later stages, there is a deference, such a level of deference to the founders that, that second and third generation is fearful of making change that might break the china. That,
right.
Where the founders, my uncle built that building, or, my dad was instrumental in this decision. How dare I presume to sell that asset or to change this thing? So, and moreover, as the family business grows, the management team, I often think of a hub and spoke. Family members are often the center of it in decision making and those kinds of things. And often some of the skills that you would expect to see maybe atrophy a little bit. So when we went through the transition from family run, we had to make a bunch of culture change decisions. And part of that involved, really hard thinking around talent management and how we thought about talent, who we were recruiting and hiring, who we were promoting, the kinds of training we were giving our leaders, compensation, and particularly in a private environment, you don't have some of the same tools you would have in a public company environment. So, and in a family-owned and family-run business, your suite of tools might be even more limited. So you have to think of ways of generating alignment, retention, but also incentivizing for success and driving for success. And so, I would say that our family shareholder group has been unbelievably supportive as we went through this process of making some of these difficult changes to make that culture change and some of the changes to the platform to allow us to reach that next level. And that's critical. Without that support, it would be dead in the water.
You have to give a lot of credit to a family who is already crushing it and then goes, all right, let's bring this to the next level. It takes some guts to do that, because you honestly don't need to. You're fine.
Complacency was definitely not something that they suffered from. They were anxious to keep going to that next level. And I think had a level of humility that allowed them to bring in some change. And one of the key steps that the Greenberg family brought in was they brought in a public company style governance model. So in 2008, less than a year after I joined, they brought in a board, a fiduciary board, not an advisory board. And there's a big difference between those. A true fiduciary board with a majority of independents that served on that board. And they effectively assumed the oversight of the business, of management for the shareholder group. And because they were a majority of independents and they were executives with significant stature, and they weren't friends and family. These weren't golfing buddies or hockey buddies that the Greenbergs knew. These were folks that they went out and searched for and selected based on the merits of their track record, their experience. And they came in and really helped implement some of that change that we needed, because they provided a degree of oversight and direction to the management team that helped foster some of the change that we needed to make. And really, I'm a huge believer in transparency. And with the board there, transparency is the ultimate. You always talk about sunlight as being the ultimate in terms of addressing problems. So exposing things to the sunlight is an incredibly important process as you're making change happen, right?
Right.
And the board was the tool to make that happen.